Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine compliment.
All right. And with that being said, welcome to Morning Coffees with James. I'm James, and this show you're seeing right now on YouTube and Instagram and hopefully BitChute and not Twitter because fuck them. Welcome to my morning coffee show. Where we discuss politics, we discuss anything we want to discuss. We can discuss the news, we can discuss the television shows, we can discuss movies that I've seen. We can discuss anything. And I'm going to try to keep this episode under 10 minutes or less because I've been trying to do... I want to get these out to like Instagram and YouTube a little bit better and a little bit more fleshed out and more easier to do. So I may have to do some things on my phone. I may have to get an SD card. I might have to get some SD cards, big SD cards for my other camera too. After figuring out, oh, I need a bigger SD card to film more. Okay, I'm a dumbass. What are you gonna do, you know? So what do we want to talk about today? Well, I want to talk about a topic that's very interesting. Now, granted, I already talked about the doctors being censored, and that's more of a warning and more of like, yo, this is me just saying to everybody, yo, keep your head on a swivel because the media is not out there. You know, these people who are in charge are not out there to keep you, you know, keep you safe, you know. I stopped saying stay safe out there because again, stay safe is okay, but stay strong is much better because you're strong enough to know when danger is coming. So, let's talk about one topic I want to talk about. Speaking about people in higher power being assholes to everybody. Let me talk about The Last of Us 2 leaks. Now, for those who don't know, The Last of Us 2 is a game made by Naughty Dog. And there are some leaks from that game that people are just gonna hate. Again, the way I can compare it is it's gonna be another Highlander situation. Another Highlander situation where you had a first really good product, people overhype. Well, Highlander is some like it, some people don't. But let's be honest, the sequel sucked. And I'm not talking about the other movies, because there are some love for them too, here and there. But this, apparently, and I've heard the leaks too, and I was just listening to some of the nonsensical bullshit that goes on in it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is terrible writing. And don't tell me this, I have to be open-minded. And if you haven't seen from the leaks already, there's a new antagonist who is basically a super mutant. And I'm not kidding. I mean, like, people are going to be out there being like, no, she's transgender. No. Transgender means you're going from male to female. And again, if you're if you're taking hormones or something like that, okay, but you're still going to have some female properties. However, in the apocalypse, I don't see that happening. Unless you start doing what... Who's that lady? Damn it, I forget her name. She was in $1 Million Baby, and she was in Boys Don't Cry. If you want to do something like that, go ahead. But in the apocalypse, in the motherfucking apocalypse, where society has broken down, and including luxuries like, say, plastic surgery or, transgender surgery for that matter, are no longer irrelevant or available, you're kind of shit out of luck. So, from these leaks, besides, you know, the main antagonist being a transgender person, which I have no problem with, it's just the fact that they made her look like a goddamn super mutant. That's what I was trying to get to. When I was calling her a super mutant, I wasn't calling her on her choice or what she is. I was calling it on the fact that she doesn't look, you know, she looks like a super mutant. I'm sorry, when I first looked at her, I'm like, okay, nobody sees, like, the irony here. I mean, you have a game called Fallout 4. Excuse me, you have the game Fallout that, you know, they already did this with the super mutants. But that was played off as a warning to this ideology. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm speculating there. Scratch what I said there, and I'm not redoing this again because honestly, I don't want to record this and I have to get going. I have to go to work early today, so sorry. And again, nothing against the LGBTQTNWXYZ groups, or especially the ones that are B, Q, L, and G. Just straight G. No, it's the other shit that goes on with it. So the antagonist of this game, and I'm going to say the least, because I don't like The Last of Us, and I don't care for The Last of Us, so I thought the game was overhyped to begin with. And one of my biggest complaints about modern gaming today as well. In the leaks, apparently the main character of Joel that everybody universally loves Joel. You can look up fan art and see different things and people dressing up like him and stuff like that. People love this character. Now, how do you think they're going to respect this character? Now, say if you're going to kill this character off, that's reasonable. Okay, one character must grow for the one, you know, old man dies for a young woman to grow. Understandable. That's the famous quote from Sin City. You know, old man dies, young woman lives, fair trade. How do you think they get rid of Joel in this? I think it's the main antagonist. Now I gotta look this up again. Son of a bitch. He gets beaten to death by the main antagonist with a fucking golf club to death. He gets clubbed to death with a golf club. Like, just goes out like that. Like, really? And on top of that, you know, and I'm not angry at the LGBTQ stuff, but they apparently are making it the focus. And also, by the way, the main antagonist, Abby, which I forgot to mention her name, apparently her mother was one of the random doctors that Joel shot when trying to rescue Ellie. Alright. It's irrelevant as I said it, and this... Why? Why? It doesn't make any fucking sense. It really doesn't make any fucking sense that Ellie, that, you know, Abby, like one doctor, like there's no, like, you know, you can make up a new threat, you have to somehow seam it in to make it all connect or some shit like that. Like, no, I would get it if it was like, if you had a character who was a doctor in it, or it could have been one of the Raiders or some shit like that, but no. I'm just so tired of this shit. And also just, again, I'm not getting the information out correctly at certain points, so I want you to look up these leaks, and for those who are storytellers, and so those who are fans of story, go out there, look up, research this, and then hear this, and then be like, okay, is this reasonable? And again, I'm not a man who's upset about leaks. I mean, I'll play a game even though the game has been spoiled for me. I just like the way it presents itself. Like, if you told me this character so-and-so dies, I want to see how they get to this, you know, transition. What story elements do they do better to get to the spoiler? I'm that kind of weirdo. I'll still watch the movie even though I know the surprise. And here's the thing, I do like being surprised too at the end. I like having like a surprise being thrown to me when I've never seen the movie. Like, I like that. And especially if you're going to do the surprise right. That's good storytelling. However, these guys don't know how to do good storytelling, because apparently, besides beating Joel to death, they basically kill Ellie. They basically kill Ellie as well, and kill her pregnant wife. Is it wife? Yeah. Yeah, I just spoiled a big spoiler. So basically, the bad guys win in this. The bad guys win. And then I'm not. Frankly, I don't care, and I'm kind of laughing at this is because it's like, one, as somebody who likes storytelling, I think this is just all fucking bullshit, and maybe it's not as bad as it seems. There's probably a reason why it's the way it is. Like, okay, maybe this is different because it's supposed to be, different. There's probably telling a different story, but it doesn't sound right. Like, most people who like love a game, they would really follow that one character or that character within that story. Like say for instance, like, I'm gonna use an example here, Metal Gear Solid. Like, granted, when they replaced Snake with Raiden in the second game, people didn't like that, and a lot of people didn't like that. Sure, people liked Raiden, but it was like, we weren't getting the full story being told to us. We weren't understanding the story, because everybody who played that game in 2003 really didn't understand it at first. They really didn't understand what was going on in this game. Like, but after replays and people analytically breaking it down, you realize that Raiden was there for a purpose, to basically fill in for the player and act as a fanboy in the sense. Somebody who was recreating the same events from the first game. So, in a sense, Hideo Kojima was commentating on his own game. And you start to figure out, okay, this is, he's there for a reason and then did this like this. So, okay. But they didn't kill off Snake. They didn't shoot him in the head. They didn't give him a shitty death. They just kind of put him as a mentor role, which I like that. I like the fact that in the second game he becomes a mentor. Here, it just seems like they just don't give a shit about their characters. It seems like... How would I compare this? Something else I can compare this to, but I can't figure out. Like, imagine one of your favorite shows and just, like, say, I don't know, Doctor Who or Buffy the Vampire Slayer or some kind of other show, Star Trek or fucking any of the popular geek shows. Now imagine they were written much worse than that. Or imagine like you liked a show that was like, and I usually see this in Geekdom or something like that. They just continued writing and then they just did some dumb shit where you had a writer come in and just do some stupid shit via The Last Jedi maybe. Like that. Already that's the best example. The Last Jedi. Because I'm going to be honest, Force Awakens was good, but it had its problems. They could have fixed that in the sequel to make everything make sense. They didn't, and Rian Johnson tried to be more artistic rather than just a good storyteller. His ego got in the fucking way. That's where I see it. That's where I see that. Because he wanted to tell his own story, and he didn't feel like playing by the rules of Kathleen Kennedy and all those guys. And this is why Star Wars is dying now. And that's a sad truth. Moments of silence for Star Wars here. Still haven't checked out The Mandalorian. But, on top of that, besides that, I again find this very funny. I do find this very funny in the sense because it's like, now we have another group of people who are pissed off at a company or a studio making something that everybody loved, and then all of a sudden, not betraying your audience, but disrespecting your audience and insulting them. Because again, with Metal Gear Solid, Hideo Kojima would betray his audience, but not disrespect them or insult them. He wouldn't insult their intelligence or disrespect their, fandom whatsoever, their love for the game. In fact, he would just, if you read between the lines, he actually is trying to tell you a story and give you something more than just an action game. Like, again, Metal Gear Solid 2, the replacement where Raiden was trying to prove a point about, Raiden, like, trying to show you that Raiden is nothing more than another fanboy doing another simulation, doing another thing, and basically following the steps of his, hero, Solid Snake. The third game had something to... Well, the third game was just good, and I'll explain that game in a different video, but another game that people kind of shit upon, Metal Gear Solid 5, he was trying to say something about, Konami and the gaming industry and the fact that, how studios betray each other. And yes, the story in Metal Gear Solid 5 is very convoluted, but then again, I feel like he just didn't give a shit and gave a shit. He kind of was like, did whatever, but he had to make it clear to the contents of the story, like for the saga in a sense. Like, yeah, this happened, but none of it really did. Like, nobody talks about that. That's the shit. Like, oh, there was zombies, there was ghosts, there were like weird, phenomenal like occurrences on that one, but we don't mention that one. Like, even like you don't see like Psycho Mantis and Liquid Snake just chatting like, "Hey, Liquid, remember that time your fake father made for a virus, like vocal cord virus, and you had a Metal Gear that was 10 times better than the ones we have now?" "Yes, I remember." "What happened? That was some strange times." "I know, really. And I didn't get to see my brother there." But overall, I think this whole thing is just another proof of why we need to start calling out game companies and just start calling them out and not bend the knee anymore. And in the words of Victor Van Doomcock, Victor Van Doomcock, DVD overlord, without respect, we reject. And this is another case of disrespect. Because if you're insulting your audience and you can't tell a decent story, and you're just insulting your audience's intelligence and their patience and their, sensibility. Well, if you're just being unsensible for the sake of unsensibility, then okay, but it's kind of silly. Like, why do you need to make fun of this? Why? And again, it's also disrespect from other companies too. Like, oh, you're just a bunch of band babies. Like the name calling. Like, oh, well, we're doing virtuous things, so you're just a bunch of a-holes. So we're okay doing this. It's like, no, you're not, and they're gonna lose money. And from this whole C-virus incident, you are now. All right, I think I'm done right now. It's 6:17. I gotta get ready for work. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Love you, and bye-bye. And remember to have a great week.